Hi, dreamers. I'm Percival,
And I'm Viviane.
and we are your hosts of the Dreamscape Chronicles.
If you would like to share a story for us to tell or come on the show and share it yourself, we welcome all dreamers to contact us at dreamscapechronicles@outlook.com.
There are things in the dark, older than fear. They live where eyes can't see beyond the shell of this world. And when your soul drifts into sleep, they see it, illuminated, flickering, vulnerable. We call them astral parasites. Not because we understand them, but because we're desperate to name the things that feed on us when we're most defenseless. I have not always referred to them as such, but over time, they have come to be known as the aura-leeching miasmic astral parasite. They slip through the cracks in your consciousness, rooting within your aura. And then you wake up cold, hollow, not quite alone. That's not a dream. That's a presence of something else. This time, on Dreamscape Chronicles, we peer into the realm that may be better left unopened. As we descend into the darkness this episode, we may find our return is accompanied by something sinister, something more than we bargained for.
Ooh, creep level is up for episode 12.
Creeper's gonna creep. Astral Parasites.
Astral Parasites.
You know, I was thinking when we were talking the other day about this episode that how have we not talked about astral parasites yet?
Yeah, it's like metaphysical hygiene. It's like learning how to brush your teeth before you lose them, you know?
Yeah, and you know, I've known about this and I just can't believe it slipped my mind completely to even mention these things, or even the possibility that some of the nighttime activity stuff might be related to this as well.
Like filtering into it. I'll be honest, when you brought this one up, I had never heard of astral parasites or attachments or whatever you want to call them, larvae. We'll go into that later, but like completely not on my radar. Had no idea. And now that I know what it is shocking that so many people do not know what this is. What do they call it? Roll with the dogs and you're going to get fleas.
Yeah, you lie with dogs, you get fleas.
There you go. That's the one. Yeah.
I know we kind of talked about it, and so do you want to kind of go over what you found out?
I think to first understand what an astral parasite is, we have to understand where they're found. These are believed to exist in the astral plane, as their name suggests, but the astral plane is also said to be split into multiple parts. So there's the upper and the lower astral plane being two of the most well-known and kind of encapsulating the rest of them because there's lots of little versions of the splits as well. The upper astral plane is known for positive energies and higher vibrations. It's where we get the idea of like higher awareness and where one can experience a higher state of consciousness. We consider this upper plane to be a place of beauty and attribute it with peace and enlightenment, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But then there's the lower astral plane, and on the opposing end of that spectrum, it is associated with negative emotions and lower vibrations. The lower astral plane is also thought to bring out negative energies, anxieties, fear, and even dark shadow entities who are hungry and chaotic. Among them, we can find parasites. These are not ghosts or demons in a traditional sense. They are neither good nor bad, nor do they have any type of personality to differentiate. They are more like leeches. They're drawn to humans and their emotions, their traumas, even their spiritual energies, and especially when they can prey on those who have left themselves unguarded in this realm.
Right. So that's like I was just saying, like people who are unaware of this are bound to have this happen, being unprepared.
Right. Which is so many people who don't know much about any of this stuff, you know what I mean? Like if you're new to this type of practice, then what do you know other than to just dip your toe in, and you haven't practiced, you don't know any of these warnings.
Right. So what did you find that people generally say how you would get an astral parasite?
Yeah, like how do they get in? Practitioners believe you're most vulnerable during certain things, right? So specifically during astral projection or lucid dreaming, while you're under heavy emotional distress, that kind of weakens you. When you're using drugs or alcohol that weaken your psychic boundaries. Yeah, who doesn't do that? Through rituals that open gateways without proper protection. Envy, rage, or obsession can invite strong emotions like flares in the dark. Entities could be attracted to the things that make you different in the other world, like being a magician, practitioner, or practicing other types of spiritual work that raises one's frequency. It is almost guaranteed you will inevitably run into this type of entity. That being said, some people who naturally have a lower frequency may also be prone to astral parasites, even if they aren't a practitioner or a magician. Yeah.
So a couple things stood out to me there, right? So you said that these things could sense other people like a beacon almost, like a flare.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember my astral projection story, but I told you I could see in the distance what looked like torches or flares.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I've had somebody before mention, like, I wonder if that's other people. And I never really thought about it until they
Oh.
said it. But if that's true, and, if you are on the astral plane, maybe that is a way to be able to know where other people are.
Well, we'll talk more about this later in the episode, but we do kind of cover frequencies and resonance, and I'm wondering if maybe that's what you're picking up in the astral field that is that beacon. Maybe that beacon is made up of those frequencies and you're seeing other people on different frequencies.
It could be. Yeah.
Or they're in a similar frequency, which is
Right.
why you can see them.
So now that you've told us how they are attracted to us and find us or get in,
Hmm.
attached to us, how would you say that they feed on us?
How do they feel? Oh, that's a good question. According to various occult systems, so you can reference a lot of different ones here. You can do theosophy, there's certain branches of ceremonial magic that kind of touch on this, and energy work traditions like Reiki or Qigong even have material based on this. But they say, as a conglomerate, that they can attach to your aura, especially around weak points like trauma, fear, addiction, grief. They drain your life force, and usually they slowly lead you to exhaustion, depression, emotional instability, even physical illness. In some cases, they may even influence thoughts or behaviors, subtly pushing you toward despair or self destruction, not out of malice, but because it creates more of the energy that they feed on. How messed up is that?
Yeah, it's super messed up. I think we should just preface before going any further with this that if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, mental health is a real thing, and you should still try to seek a doctor's opinion also.
Absolutely.
Don't just go off of like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It doesn't hurt, and I would hate to be the person that discourages someone from getting true help if they really need to seek it.
Yeah, there's a lot about our healthcare system and big pharma that I disagree with, but I'll be totally honest, I have seen so many people benefit from the right fix. And if it's from a doctor, then great. If it's from a plant, then great. If it's from a tea or an herb or whatever, awesome. It's just whatever works for you, and it's always so very important that you do find what works for you.
Exactly. And I'll be the first to say I've been to plenty of doctors and told them a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, they didn't lock me up or threw me in a loony bin.
Yeah, unless
But
that's just a, memory
they
you're repressing.
they just say that things are weird and there's a lot of things that are unexplainable. Yeah, it never hurts to talk to people about this stuff.
Always.
So I think to understand the astral parasites, we really need to go to the beginning, or at least what we can assume would be the beginning of where these things originated from, or at least the identity and terms of them.
Sure, like their written history anyway.
Right, as far as I know and could find over time. So
Fair.
we're going to basically go back to the Roman era. So the term larva originates from Latin, dating back to ancient Rome. It translates to ghostly apparition or mask and carried a distinctly negative connotation. This connotation is compelling as the imagery of a mask implies something is hidden or obscured from our sight. So, suggesting that these entities conceal their true nature or identity. Beyond its spiritual meaning, the term larva also refers to an immature form of an organism, one that often looks completely different from its adult stage and typically undergoes metamorphosis. This dual meaning opens up an intriguing interpretation. Entities encountered on the lower level of the astral planes might represent a juvenile form of something far more powerful and dangerous. Considering how formidable these beings already are in their immature state, the possibility of a more evolved version is both astonishing and deeply unsettling. So, in Roman cultural and religious studies, we find a strong connection between the soul, death, and the afterlife. It was believed that the souls of the deceased could change form and acquire different abilities depending on the rituals performed during their lives. Another key term from this belief system is manes, which refers to the benevolent spirits. This sets up kind of a duality. On one side are the larvae, malevolent entities, and on the other are the manes, their benevolent counterparts. Then there are the lemurs, type of spirit thought to wander without the benefit of proper rites or remembrance by family and friends. Although often grouped with larvae, lemurs were believed to be more conscious and self aware than the larvae were. That makes sense. They were somewhat aligned with mayonnaise, but weren't necessarily malevolent. Sometimes they were considered neutral. The distinction between the types of spirits was often tied to the circumstances of death and the observance of the funerary rites. A violent death, unresolved trauma, or the absence of proper burial rites could result in a spirit becoming a larva. In contrast, those who were honored and laid to rest respectfully could transition into mayonnaise. This is also kind of like why I decided to go ahead and bring up this topic as well, because I talk about this whole parasite thing, and then, of
Yeah.
course, it's May, and one of the festivals that is in May is the festival of Lemuria, or Lemuria,
It's larva time.
essentially. So, the festival of Lemuria. There is a great Roman festival they held in May that was meant to appease the restless spirits. This festival, Lumeralia or Lemuria, was just that. It was used to rid your house of infernal spirits that may be lingering. This festival is dedicated to the malevolent and restless dead and was meant to keep peace and avoid any ill will they may throw your way. The lemurs were not something you wanted lingering in your home. So there were rituals and prayers they offered to get them out of their houses as well, including offering bowls of water, scraps of food, and coins to pay the ferryman in order to help them on their journey to the next world.
Kind of beautiful.
Right. Okay. So then this ritual technically took place over a couple days. It started May 9th, and then the 11th, and then the 13th.
Why not like the 9th, 10th, and 11th?
Well, it had to do with superstition and thinking that, odd days and even days were different, right?
Oh,
Some days were good, some days were bad. And a lot of people still practice this. Festival can easily be done by just about anybody.
sure. Makes sense.
So the head of the household would make this sign called the monofica, and it's where you put your thumb between your pointer finger and your middle finger, and you make a fist.
So like the got your nose thing.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
They would wear unknotted clothing, like they would clean themselves very good. I forgot to say that.
Oh, okay.
So in preparation to this, with most rituals, you want to be clean, right?
So cleansing physically before cleansing metaphysically.
Right. Because if you're dirty and you're doing it, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you would cleanse yourself, and then get in your wardrobe, right?
Okay.
You would do the sign, walking through the house, barefooted. Don't let me forget to mention that. That was very
Okay.
specific, so you need to be barefooted. And then you would toss these black beans, and they need to be black beans, and there's a whole history behind this, but you would essentially throw them over your shoulders or spit them out of your mouth.
What?
Yeah. But there's a very important part of this, and this goes with a lot of other things with spirit communications, is you don't look back.
Don't look back.
Yes.
Like you don't want to see what's back there. You just want to get rid of it.
A lot of these things that reference dealing with spirits, it's always been a thing, is you don't turn around.
Okay.
You leave things, especially like crossroad things, stuff like that. You leave it, your offerings, you don't turn around. You don't look back. I'm sure there's something more deeper to that. I'm sure if somebody would like to tell us, that would be great.
Yeah.
I could Google it, but where's the fun in that?
GTS, friends. All right. Continue with this totally normal sounding ritual.
Yeah, just murdered this 5-minute ritual into like a 20-minute tangent. So, yeah, you'd go around spitting these beans in different rooms in your house. I'm kind of Lemuria for dummying it right now.
Yeah.
But you would say these prayers 9 times after tossing each bean. So it would be something like, "These I cast, with these beans I redeem me and mine." So, and then essentially the rest of the household would take like pots or whatever metal they have and just bang and make as much noise as possible to kind of scare the spirits out of the house.
Is that kind of like how people clap in corners to try and scare spirits away?
Yeah, that's the same idea.
That makes sense.
And they would kind of all just, say this while they're banging pans and say, "Ghost of our ancestors, be gone, be at rest," kind of thing.
With beans.
So now after the 13th, when the festival's over, to remove the beans, you would basically gather them up and bury them at a crossroads or put them into like a running stream.
Oh.
And I heard another theory that supposedly they would put these beans into a bowl of water in the rooms if they didn't spit them. And I wonder if that was to like trap the spirits in the water.
Why is that?
Because the spirits can't cross water as a threshold, but it's running water. So I think that's why they put them in the river.
Oh. It feels very Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a multicultural folklore thing.
Huh.
So also some interesting information. During the festival, temples were closed and marriages weren't allowed because it was considered dedicated to the spirits of the deceased during this time.
So it's like unlucky.
Right, it was kind of like a taboo thing, and I guess that's where we get the phrase "Mary and May rue the day."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm
I
making
gotcha.
hand gestures that no one can see.
I love it. You're recording with your hands. So I guess they would just do this awesome ritual every year and then like they're good to go.
So yeah, they would do this once a year in May to essentially rid their houses of these spirits. And there are other festivals that they did do prior to this, like they would clear the streets and then you would clear your houses, which to me, I would kind of have thought you would do it the opposite way, like get it out of the house, then run it out of the town.
Exactly.
What's the way they did it, so.
Strange. It kind of sounds like the earliest version of spring cleaning.
Kind of, yeah. It's essentially what it would be as a spring cleaning because, I mean, most of us think as fall as spooky season.
Yeah.
And before that fall, it was winter was a spooky season. But
right.
It seems like the further you go back, the spooky season keeps moving forward and forward,
Oh, yeah.
So like Asian countries, they celebrate a lot of this stuff in the spring and the summertime as well. So it kind of depends on where you are when spooky time is.
I think my goal in life is to find something spooky to participate in all year round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a plausible life goal?
And get a job at a haunted house.
Oh, I'm down with that.
Don't know if they pay the bills.
But I would look like such a nice zombie.
So, well, that's pretty much the festival of Lemuria in a nutshell because I don't want to draw out a whole topic on the festival, But it's kind of important to know that it's just around the corner. And where the term came from
Yeah.
for astral parasites, and the Romans don't necessarily call them astral parasites at all, right? They just have this term larva.
Well, like astral wasn't even on their radar at that time as far as terms being used.
Right, that's correct. They didn't have this same concept, at least. But yeah, so where do you want to go from there?
Well, I think skipping forward about 1200 years.
Oh, so super far.
Yeah,
We're,
for
we're
real.
making a jump.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we we lost some time before the Renaissance as we all know, and there was not a lot of historical documentation of any sort going on during the Dark Ages. But Renaissance, we get the interest built again for esoteric ideas and the belief in spiritual entities, and it brought more people back to rituals regarding protection and cleansing. And these Roman myths really transformed. So we have around that same time frame, we have Paracelsus. Paracelsus is probably someone that a lot of our listeners or you maybe even have heard of. He's a fellow by the name of Paracelsus who developed the integrated idea of astral influences combined with spiritual entities and their effects on purity of thought and action. And the biggest thing is he introduced the idea of an astral body back in the 1500s, as well as its impact on spiritual well being. This highlighted the connection of the astral plane and existence and dangers of the larvae that we had heard of in the Roman era. So the ideas that negative thoughts could align to create negative spirits and their existence as a type of astral entity became a basis that influenced many people's thoughts on the matter. Though he never used the term larva, he did depict a malevolent spiritual obstacle with all the similarities of the ancient creatures we already knew. His thoughts on the subject influenced many minds later, including Helena Blavatsky, who would later use the terminology astral plane, which we can safely connect to Paracelsus's ideas since we have the use of the term astral there again. Paracelsus also wrote about the realm of mundus imaginalis, or the world of ideas and images. He described it as existing between worlds in a pocket we can visit. He brought up our astral bodies and how they can be influenced by things such as the stars, moon, and other energies, which could have an effect on our health and well being.
I'm glad that you thought that I didn't know who Paracelsus is.
Thank you. I just thought I'd cover it in case.
So yeah, he's known as the father of toxicology.
I gotcha.
Yeah, he's an interesting figure if you kind of do a deeper dive on him. He's a huge leap forward in our medical history himself as a alchemist, philosopher, scientist of the era, if you will.
Well, I'm glad at one point we had medical professionals that were interested in this side of the field.
Well, sadly enough, this was just post, War of the Roses era. So this was like you're still in people on horseback fighting each other with swords and, bring me my lance. So he treated a lot of people that were injured in war. And I think in some of his earlier years, he actually learned a lot from working around people who were miners.
Miners?
Yeah, like people in coal mines, silver or gold,
Oh,
or they were in mines, and
like their
so
profession, mining.
right.
Okay, got you.
So he kind of studied the people, and he kind of came up with the idea of everything that makes you sick doesn't involve your body necessarily. It could be terrestrial, like where you're based at.
Okay, so geographically.
Right. So, like, you're living in a house with mold. It's not your body that gave you the sickness. It's because you're living in a house with mold that got you
Okay,
sick.
got you.
Right. So you're in
So
a
it's your
mine.
surroundings.
Right. You're in a mine breathing gas and
Yeah.
debris and stuff. Of course, you're going to end up with lung problems.
Yeah.
So he kind of came up with this idea, and I think we owe him a little bit more than what history's really given him credit, in my opinion. But
Well, my apologies to Paracelsus, but we are going to move forward on him
okay. I mean,
because
he was
he's awesome. I will give him that, but he is not what we're here for.
That's true. He was kind of a dick anyways, if you read
Oh.
some of the past.
Well, anyway, We are going to move on to Helena Blavatsky, which is
Oh,
one of the people who utilized a lot of Paracelsus's ideas and kind of created her own works and beliefs from that. So she's a Russian American mystic. She studied Paracelsus's works and beliefs, as well as many others, which led to the development of Theosophy. It was with the help of her other two co founders of Theosophy that the idea popularized around larvae being astral remnants and were influencing the living world. In 1888, Helena published The Secret Doctrine, where she described larvae as spiritually dead forms that would attach to people's auras and feed on their emotional or psychic energies. This was around the same time that psychical research and astral plane exploration was building interest. We saw the formation of the Society for Psychical Research and the American Society for Psychical Research in 1882 and 1884, respectively. These societies focused on studying paranormal phenomena, including telepathy and mediumship. This same time frame developed interest in hypnosis and the idea of traveling clairvoyance, and brought us some of our earliest attempts to test for ESP during out of body experiences. This involved hypnotized subjects being instructed to visit distant locations and report events to describe the location. I think it is important to note that these ideas were influenced by Hindu and Buddhist ideals around astral entities and reincarnation, but we won't go too far into that this episode. We have just to say Helena Blavatsky married Western and Eastern beliefs into a blend of her own.
right. And I think most of the people who are into this subject would kind of already know this, I would hope.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
maybe not, but hopefully they do now.
yeah, and I mean, if you want to look into her, she is kind of, I believe, what they say, the mother of Theosophy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, you can look into her if you want to, but
She's an interesting character.
she has her own things.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a theosophy, a theosophy episode one of these days.
So, who do you got next on the ballot?
Well, I know we skipped kind of quickly. We started in ancient Rome, and then we went to 1500s, and then we went to 1800s, but now we're only going to skip a little bit further from Helena and introduce Aleister Crowley.
Oh, okay.
So 1920s, his development of Thelema, his own magical system. In Magic in Theory and Practice, he described larvae within Thelema, viewing them as astral entities stemming from unresolved emotions and negative thoughts within the practitioner. Basically, projections from the magician's deepest unaddressed psychological issues. Crowley's beliefs on this were heavily influenced by Freudian psychoanalysis and Eastern spiritual practices. So a lot of the larva, a lot of the magical system with, Freudian and psychological psychoanalysis. It's kind of marrying the two.
Right. Took from Blavatsky's stuff as well as
Oh, yes.
past Hermeticism.
Yes. It was definitely, I mean, he borrowed from her theosophy in his belief system creation. So,
Right. And I mean, with practitioners, it's kind of, you can't really say that it's a bad thing because, I mean, all of this stuff came from somewhere. Most of these things are a blend of multiple people's different practices and what they've learned over time.
I mean, I really think it just boils down to like, no one really wants to reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, if some things work,
Yeah.
and you alter it and it works better for you, then why not? I don't, it's not me to judge.
Yeah,
Do what you do.
exactly.
I mean, a lot of people will say, stick to the book, but, it's whoever made the book. Where did they get all their info from? So,
Right. Right.
but again, let's not hang up on the people as much as, the subject. Because Crowley, he's a character that we could probably involve more into astral projection and a lot of this weird demonic sleep stuff, but we can leave him for another day.
Definitely. We're just touching on him. But We can go a little bit further and kind of within the same time frame as Aleister Crowley. We find Dion Fortune. I'm probably saying her name wrong and I apologize. She is definitely dead, so I apologize to anyone who may have known of her and feels offense to this. She's another influence that we get from the early 20th century. She published Psychic Self-Defense in 1930, which described larvae as astral entities that could attach to weak auras and drain that person's vitality. Her works were influenced by the Golden Dawn, her experiences, and others' works from that time. She wrote about ways to strengthen your aura through meditation, visualization, and energy work. Even though she never used the term shadow work, which was coined in another time, she was a major advocate for the process, describing it in full in her works.
Interesting. I've heard of her, but I really don't know too much about her, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can cover her a little bit more in depth later as well, but we're just, again, just touching on things that influenced our subject
Right.
today.
I do know she was influenced by the Golden Dawn, and I'm pretty sure she was a decently popular medium,
Mm,
I believe. I'm pretty sure she was known to be a medium in her time.
more than likely. We'll move on to our last guest, which is Franz Bardon. He is a Czech occultist and a student and teacher of hermetics. He developed the idea of larvae as astral entities that are created by negative thoughts, emotions, or unresolved desires coming from the magician or others close to them. He went on to specify that these astral entities become semi independent as they feed off energy, influence behavior, and affect your well being. He believed they lacked will or consciousness and were merely drawn to the energy they feed on and were created from. Bardon's writings are still heavily debated.
So I don't know if I've heard of Barden actually.
Yeah, he's kind of another one of those dark horses we could probably go into later.
Yeah, that's a couple of people, that have influenced this term over history. So, what kind of things can we talk about larva now?
How has it evolved, you mean?
Yeah, when you hear this, what do you kind of think of? Like, what would you kind of go to whenever you hear this attachment, like a non-physical thing, right?
I mean, I straight up go to like possession, right?
Kind of what it sounds like in a way. In
Yeah.
a way, it kind of is. So,
And maybe it's not like the full on, possessed girl in the bed strapped down, oogie boogie's coming out of her type thing.
like
But
an
maybe it's
exorcist.
like, yeah, exactly. But maybe it's like a soft kind of attachment that's always there.
Right. So, in occult lore, these astral parasites are non physical entities, right?
Sure.
The realm, the lower astral plane, can be accessed through dreams, out of body experiences, or even deep meditation. Okay, so these entities don't have to be demons or ghosts. They could be an insect, an eel, a parasite that is not visible. Speculation leads more towards an egregore or a tulpa,
That makes sense.
which, I mean, I guess we might as well go ahead and throw servitors and golems in there as well. I mean, those are kind of in that same ballpark, but
Sure.
we'll get there. But I think we've all had enough of egregores for a while. So, as frequencies can be high and low, our positive and negative energies can affect it as well. If we are naturally positive or negative, people can alter our internal frequencies. This is why we have a huge spike in New Age astral projection and why we see it in our modern pop culture and mainstream media. I mean, we just talked about The Exorcist. A big part of that was she was playing with a Ouija board
Yeah,
at the beginning of that thing.
that's very true.
And it's good to note that while you probably shouldn't play with a Ouija board, especially if you don't know how to defend yourself against anything supernatural.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily even have to be a Ouija board. Like, you shouldn't use divination or astral projection or any of these things essentially without understanding the consequences that you can get from this stuff. So, a big part of that would be what most people would call the discernment of spirits.
Okay.
So, the discernment of spirits is essentially when it comes to preventing astral parasites in a broader context of magic or spiritual practices. Discernment refers to the ability to determine which entities or spirits are beneficial and which ones might be harmful. For those who work within the spiritual and occult fields, preventing astral parasites is crucial for maintaining psychic and spiritual health.
So to me, this kind of sounds like you're going to venture into the woods. This is how you determine which mushrooms are food and which mushrooms will kill you.
Right, you have to have that understanding, and some people have like this natural ability to do it.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like another one of those sixth sense things. Some people have, certain types of ESP, but sometimes it takes a lot of practice or being very cunning yourself.
Yeah.
There's a very good reason why they call certain people cunning people, and it's just because you have to be smarter than some of these spirits.
Hmm.
The name came from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of the first lines of defense against astral parasites is the ability to psychically sense or intuitively detect their presence. Discernment relies on tuning into your own energetic field and noticing when something feels off. Some key signs may be sudden loss of vitality, or a sense of being emotionally weakened without any apparent cause, or draining your energy at night or during meditation. Then we look to another effective method, and that would be the testing of the energy and vibration of the spirit or entity. Parasites often operate at a lower frequency and tend to feel heavier or more oppressive. So, this could be when you walk in a room and it feels heavy, like you just feel like something's there. Like I get this a lot in certain places. I'll walk in and it just feels like I'm walking into a brick wall of fog. And then sometimes discernment is about relying on your gut feeling and intuitive impressions. Many practitioners use their own body's response to assess spiritual entities. This is that gut feeling. If you have anxiety like me, it's like a whole sixth sense on its own. Like it picks up on stuff and it's like, this is bad. I got to get out of here. It's that kind of thing. It's that subconscious tingle on the back of your neck, the hairs raising on your arms to where you know something is off. It's kind of that feeling. Beyond that, discernment of spirits involves clear communication with the entities to assess their true nature. When you encounter a spirit, you can use direct questioning to probe its intentions and origin. If you are using tools like a Ouija board, a pendulum, psychic medium, ask specific questions that probe the spirit's intentions. Spirits, including astral parasites, can sometimes be very deceptive. You might ask things like, who are you? What is your purpose here? Are you here to help or harm? But pay close attention to the answers. If the spirit is vague or evasive, it could be a sign of a parasitic nature. Astral parasites often disguise themselves as helpful entities to gain access to your energy. So, a couple of things to look for in these signs, amongst the evasive answers or, it not offering a clear identity, it might be a request for energy or offering promises that seem too good to be true, something for some of your energy, essentially. Pop culture proves we have a common acceptance of this concept. The negative ones get possessed and the positive ones get murdered.
Yeah. Pretty much every horror show ever. So basically, you're looking for spirits. It's good to sense them if you can feel that they're heavier, or you can ask them if you have to, or you can use your spidey sense.
Yep, the Peter tingle.
Your Peter tingle. And then when in doubt, always ask them questions. But do something. Don't just trust what they're saying, please.
So, I was told recently by a practitioner that demons have the ability to know past, present, and future knowledge. And these parasites cannot. They don't have the ability to see your past, right? So, you could potentially trick these things by asking them questions that they wouldn't know, right? So, if
Yeah.
it's something, if you're invoking something angelic or demonic, it more than likely is going to know a lot more than these parasites.
That's fair, yeah.
So that could be part of the evasiveness. If you ask it something and it's kind of dodging the questions, it's probably a parasite of some kind.
That's fair.
Or it's at least not what you think it is.
So this is like when you have to handle any and all fraud or spam calls and they start asking you for information. You should ask them for information. Challenge them back.
Right. But that's why this discernment of spirits is so important, because understanding what you're talking to is another fraction of all of this stuff. It's just
Yeah.
another layer of protection that if you're not aware of how to approach these things, you're gonna end up in trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can't help but think with all of this that it reminds me of a movie that I love so much from the 80s called From Beyond. And it's directed by Stuart Gordon, and it's based on a Lovecraft story. The story emerges with a narrator recounting his chilling experiences with a reclusive scientist, Crawford Tillinghast. Tillinghast constructs a strange device that emits a resonance wave, an invisible pulse tinged with a sickly ultraviolet glow that excites the pineal gland, granting its subjects the terrible ability to perceive realms beyond human comprehension. Under the machine's thrumming influence, the narrator glimpses a translucent, shadowed dimension bleeding into their own, bathed in shifting hues of purple and spectral violet. In this unseen world, grotesque, otherworldly beings drip and swarm, their forms too alien for the mind to fully grasp. Tillinghast, wide-eyed and triumphant, confesses that he has banished his house servants into the warped plane of existence. Worse still, he reveals the resonance works both ways. The creatures beyond the veil can now see and reach those who dare to look. I'm going to play this little clip, but this movie, if you've never seen it, to me, it is definitely what I imagine these things would look like if we had the ability to physically see them on our own. But this is one of my favorite little clips, so I'm just going to play a little snippet for you guys.
Crawford. This is Dr. Catherine McMichaels. Hello.
I suppose you're another psychiatrist?
Yes, I am. And you're a physicist. Your record at Miskatonic University was brilliant.
Yes. I had quite a future, didn't I?
Yes. You were working with Edward Pretorius.
I was assisting Dr. Pretorius with his experiments, yes.
Mm-hmm. What was the purpose of the experiments?
To stimulate the pineal gland with resonant vibrations.
The pineal gland? Why?
Dr. Pretorius believed the pineal was a dormant sensory organ, a sixth sense.
Yes. Well, that's not a new theory. The philosopher Descartes believed it was the third eye.
It's not a theory, it's a fact.
Then your experiments worked. They proved the theory.
Yes.
Then what went wrong?
Nothing. At first. But then we saw them.
What did you see?
We saw creatures. We saw creatures, these things that are swimming around in the air. They fill it all the time.
Are they around us now?
You bet. Only we can't see them without the resonator, and they can't see us unless they're under the influence of the vibrations. That's why I had to destroy it.
Destroy what?
The resonator, Pretorius's invention. Because it
What came? Dr. Tillinghast. Crawford, what did you see?
ate him, bit off his head. gingerbread man.
Oh, I love me some Jeffrey Combs.
That is Hollywood you can't pay for anymore.
That's true. If I could only get Bruce Campbell and Jeffrey Combs in the same place at one time,
Oh my God.
I could die happy.
What's the name of that producer that, or that director that?
Sam Raimi?
No. I mean, him too. He should definitely be involved. But what's the one that, M. Night Shyamalan? He should be part of it. Make it like a mind warp of a movie.
Oh, with a twist.
Yes. It's like the ShamWow of horror movies. But wait, there's more.
With a twist. Okay. So enough of that. I'll get off my little soapbox.
From Beyond is not a soapbox. It is a magical movie, okay? So if you haven't seen it, go out, watch it, please. It's phenomenal.
Don't let your kids watch it.
Yeah, maybe don't. This is like an adults only type night.
Yeah, and get ready for 80s.
Gore.
I was going to go for toplessness, but yeah, gore.
I mean, a little bit of both.
It's made in the 80s.
It's an 80s flick. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah. So that brings up a lot of stuff because even in the movie, they mention this resonator and he's using a resonance to affect the pineal gland, right? So that they're able to see these things.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back to the idea of frequencies and vibrations, wavelengths, you name it, right?
Right.
So it's all in this little scientific ballpark here. So this got me thinking a lot because with my astral projection experiences and the places that were purple that I have seen, I was like, that's very strange. I didn't ever think about that until digging into this topic with these parasites that in the movie, it was an ultraviolet color.
Purple.
That made them appear.
It was purple.
It was purple. So looking into the frequencies and resonance and wavelengths, we kind of found out that there's some correlations here.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and tell the correlations?
Sure, yeah. So kind of just to start at the beginning here, right? We have the visible light spectrum, which is a very small part of our giant electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic waves that we can see are confined to this small area that we call visible light region, right? So all electromagnetic waves originate from the vibration of charged particles. These charged particles come from a variety of sources like the sun, other stars, and warm objects like light bulbs and animals. So we know the full spectrum of the visible light region and the colors that are associated with each side of those frequencies. That being said, we know the lower frequency limit is for red, and we know the upper frequency limit is for violet. So the higher frequencies are creating those purple tones. And the astral plane has those colored purple vibrations. So it's like a higher frequency that we're seeing that at. But it's interesting because if you think about it in a vision capacity, us humans can see that range. But then you go into other creatures, like take dogs, for instance. They have dichromatic vision, which is a type of color blindness. And they are able to see higher frequencies better than lower frequencies. So a lot of people will buy Fido a red ball because if they throw it and Fido doesn't bring it back, it's easier for them to see where it was thrown and go pick it up, right? Makes sense.
Right.
And then Fido actually has a hard time seeing red because it's a low frequency color.
Interesting.
So really what people should be buying Fido is a high frequency color like a purple or a green ball. Isn't that strange?
It is strange.
But that brings me to question, does this mean that there could be some people who pick up certain frequencies better among people as well, and some who may see different frequencies better than others? Or possibly can these entities and parasites see some of us better because they pick up on a different portion of the spectrum better than others? Could be the frequencies we put off by which they track us and are aware of our presence.
Possibly. And since you brought up animals, I mean, they say that animals can see things that we can't. So it brings up kind of a conundrum, right? So if they can only see higher vibrations, then these entities are on a lower vibration. Wouldn't that mean that they wouldn't be able to see the parasites being of a lower vibration?
I mean, it's possible.
But I know I've seen the dogs and cats look at random stuff in the room and they say that they can sense these things.
Maybe it's a different type of sense. Maybe they're not sensing the frequency at which you can see it, but maybe they're feeling it.
That makes sense because that's that same, intuition feeling. So maybe they can sense it, like how they can sense if we're anxious
Right.
or a threat.
Right.
But I've definitely seen the cats and the dogs look in the corners of the room, like the top corner of the ceiling, like there's nothing there.
Yeah, my cat's definitely done that. She creeps us out.
I'm pretty sure they can pick up on something.
Yeah.
But okay, so good point to talking about the colors and stuff with this. So what do you think when you think of spectrum of colors, right? It's a rainbow.
Okay.
So what do we know in current spiritual practice that involves the colors of the rainbow?
Of the rainbow.
I mean, there's multiple different things, but
Oh, like chakras.
right.
Okay.
So I know about chakras, but I've never really studied anything on Reiki or Tantra or any of the other meditative practices.
Okay.
But I do know a little bit about it, and this is kind of goes along with the meditation thing as to why people say, you do meditation to raise your vibration. So essentially,
Okay.
you would think by doing these things, you would prevent yourself or at least rid yourself of any types of parasites.
Okay.
And there are people out there that'll say, yes, this will do that. But then there's also people that'll say that, no, absolutely not.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, this is not something that you do to necessarily get rid of these things. There are ways to rid yourself of these specifically.
So would they maybe consider these things or these practices more as like a, what do they call it? Psychic hygiene?
In a way, this is that kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha.
But essentially, so Reiki practitioners believe that Reiki involves the transfer of the universal life force energy and can raise one's personal vibrational frequencies.
Okay.
So this is where you get the idea that you can raise your vibration to transcend. This is how people meditate and astral project. And it makes a lot more sense that this seems to be there's a certain vibration that I'm thinking to where you have the ability to cross over to what would be the astral plane. If you're on a lower vibration, this might not be something that occurs with you. Whereas if you have a natural higher vibration and you're on a different wavelength altogether, you might be able to pick up on things more, or certain spiritual things might just come easier to you.
So you're literally working on the vibe.
Right. So, I mean, with this idea of a resonance wave brings up another excellent point, especially the ultraviolet purple hues that were mentioned.
Okay.
While both of these practices typically aim to raise one's personal vibrations, avoiding these astral parasites, they do not necessarily need a person on a lower vibration to attach to them. So why mention it, Many people have also claimed to have experienced these types of entities while involved in these practices as well.
Okay.
So that's just what I was saying a second ago is, it's not just exclusively to people who are on a lower vibration and depressed.
Right.
Like this is open to anybody who goes outside of the normal boundaries of what we know as our physical existence.
I know it's kind of morbid, but it's like cancer. Like people who smoke could get lung cancer, or people who are just predispositioned and never smoked a day in their life will get lung cancer.
Kind of in a nutshell. And I mean, secondhand smoke. So if you're around somebody who's doing this stuff unprotected, you could potentially experience signs of this as well. So
I guess cancer and parasitic Astral entities are a good comparison, though, because they are kind of like a parasitic tumor, parasitic entity. Yeah, life draining.
It's like that horrible movie Malignant.
Oh my god, what a waste of time. I want my
So-
2 hours of life back.
So, anyways, so possibly because one's vibration can also be a sort of beacon to these things in a place of what most would think of as darkness could be a visible spectrum of light.
Okay.
After all, black is a combination of all colors.
Right.
So, colors being frequencies and hertz can be attributed to certain colors.
Okay.
Let's talk about one color that seems to be the most obvious to what could possibly be another connection within the multiple planes of existence.
Okay.
The purple seems to come up the most, right?
Sure.
But I've been looking into this a little bit with the chakras. And if you look at the structure of your chakra, the very top crown chakra
Mm-hmm.
is this colored purple.
Okay.
So this is one of the higher frequencies, except white. White is like the highest frequency. So that being said, the crown chakra is purple, and below that you have your third eye chakra, which is normally depicted as the color indigo.
Oh.
So some people might have heard the term indigo children, but
Oh.
we're not going to go there. We're not going to talk about that right now.
Another episode.
Yeah, that goes into some space stuff. So the funny thing is, so your crown chakra frequency is between 668 and 789 hertz, but the wavelength is somewhere between 380 and 450 nanometers. Now, if you look back to the indigo, it falls between 420 and 450 nanometers. So technically, it places itself somewhere in the middle of your crown chakra, which makes sense because your crown is your head. And
That's weird.
that
Yeah.
would be, your pineal gland is in your head. And that's what they believe your third eye is your pineal gland.
It almost feels like they're saying it's like a subset of your crown, though,
Right.
in a way.
And so your third eye chakra is essentially your intuition, spiritual vision, insight, knowledge and intellect, that kind of thing. And it's in between. It's not blue and it's not that violet, it's not purple. But I think that there's something between these two chakras that could hold a key to the frequency for the astral plane. I mean, they already say that there's certain hertz that can heal your body and do other types of things. I think it's around 440 or like 432. I would have to look into that again, but there are theories that certain hertz can do certain things with your body.
Well, yeah, because that's why cats purr.
Right, exactly.
They they radiate that frequency throughout their body and
To
it
heal.
calms and heals. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good example. That's pretty much spot on right there.
Yeah.
So now say you find yourself in a position where you've got an astral parasite.
Womp, womp, womp.
Have you found yourself feeling drained after lucid dreams or summoning rituals? Do you have strange reoccurring thoughts of entities attempting to feed on your energy? Perhaps you have fallen into a streak of bad luck after attempting certain magical practices. Try our not so new and improved Banishing product, LBRP in a can. Brought to you by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
That gets me every time.
That's pretty funny.
I love it. I love it.
So, yeah, getting rid of these things now.
Yeah, the cleanup.
So, I know from the people I've talked to and the research that I've done and learned over the years that the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is the most common way people say to get rid of this.
Okay, common surefire way, right?
Yeah, like this is like the go-to. You got a parasite, do this.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other things that you can do. Chaos magic kind of dips into this realm
Yeah.
a lot more with, well, chaos magic is a whole thing on its own. So
Yeah, let's put a pin in that.
we might branch off from this and talk about the chaos magic aspect of the astral parasites and thought forms and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a good branch off from here.
Yeah, there's a lot of tendrils that it reaches.
So aside from the lesser banishing ritual, there are the rituals that are cleansing rituals. So with those, they can act as a form of discernment
Okay.
in that they provide a space to interact with spiritual energies and judge their reactions.
Oh.
So chaos magicians and ceremonial magicians alike use ritual cleansing to detect negative or parasitic forces. So
Okay.
like using salt water, incense, and prayer to create a sacred space and invite protective energies in.
Right.
The ritual acts as a way to see how spirits respond. So, a positive spirit will respect the boundaries of the ritual, while a parasitic spirit might rebel, grow agitated, and show resistance to being cleansed.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't want to
Well,
be.
it's like a tick. You
Right.
know, ticks inherently don't want to be off their food source, so they resist. They dig in.
Right. And then so the other part of that would be like kind of closing the door that they came in at, right?
Okay.
Kind of like the Ouija board, they say you're supposed to say goodbye and
Right.
close that portal. It doesn't mean those portals stay closed, but essentially you want to keep wherever this thing came from closed off. So if a parasitic spirit is identified, effective banishment or closing of the energy is key here.
Okay.
In many magical traditions, once a spirit is discerned as parasitic, you perform a closing ritual to ensure it doesn't re enter your space.
All right.
Use a banishing ritual like the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram.
LBRP in a can.
Yep. Smudging or even simply stating, I close the door to the spirit and its influence. You may not return.
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever you got to do to try to get this thing out of here, but intention is kind of key with this stuff. Like,
Gotcha.
you got to really mean it. And this seems to be the most popular method of ritual used to rid yourself of these parasites as far as modern practitioners go.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So I guess before we go, I just wanted to let everyone know that we are having our Patreon and Discord set up currently, so those will be launching here soon. We will be putting a poll up in the Patreon once it's launched, and the episodes should have a poll link to them. I only know that the Spotify poll works, so I'm not sure on the other platforms. So you might want to check the Patreon out to participate in the poll. This is probably our longest episode yet.
Yes, I believe you're correct.
So with that, I think we might banish ourselves from this episode.
I don't have any beans, but I could just spit if you'd like.
Let's just pass on the spit.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess with that, we'll say dreamers keep dreaming, and until then,
join us in discovering what may lie beyond the walls of sleep.